Okay, so we're holding towards the end of Siman Kufay Zayin Hilchas Niddah. What I think is a good idea to do today is a little bit of a review of what we did last time in Sif Yud, and we'll go on to Sif Yud Aleph and Yud Beis. There's quite a few shitas, and because of the various shitas, it makes sometimes understanding the halacha of the mechaber a little difficult, especially when there's differences of opinions as to what the mechaber meant. What did the Ramah mean? And obviously, the situation in itself that we have in Sif Yud is an unusual situation, and it's not really similar to anything else that we see. And because of that, we try to figure out, can we compare it to any other halachas that we know? That is why I think it's a good idea to review some of the important concepts that are presented here in Sif. We're talking about Roy Machmas Tashmish. Roy Machmas Tashmish, as we know it till now, was something very simple. It is that the husband and wife were together, and as a result of the intimacy, it appears to be that that is what triggered the dam. And here, apparently, what we have is a situation which is murkav, as we would call it in Hebrew. In other words, there's more than one factor contributing towards the dam. And therefore, it's not so simple. Could it be that right now, this woman is seeing dam as a result of having gone to the mikveh that night? And it's a combination of the two that is bringing about the dam. It's not just the tashmish, and it's not just the tvila itself, even though some want to say that it could just be the tvila by itself. She went to the mikveh, and as a result of that, she sees dam. We're not going to get into that. Otherwise, we'd be spending here a whole hour just discussing the various opinions on how to learn the mechaber and various additional scenarios. I'd rather summarize what most achronim agree to. And that is that it's a simple case, relatively simple, of a woman having gone to the mikveh and was with her husband that night or the following night. And it's important that I stress that night or the following night, because if it would be several nights later, the halacha would be very different. In other words, right now, what seems to be guiding us, or what seems to be presented in this halacha, is that it's perhaps a combination of the two, the mikveh and the tashmish, that are bringing about the dam. And as a result of that, we have to be concerned that this could happen again. This could repeat itself. Now, of course, we don't want to be in that situation. That's something that we suspect could be a problem, may repeat itself. Then why go into it? So we avoid it until we feel safe that it's no longer there. And that's what Akiras Veset usually means, as we will learn B'ezrat Hashem in Kuf Heites and Kuf Tzadik, where we talk more about the various kinds of Vesatot, and basically the Veset Kavua and She'eno Kavua. We will see that there's a concept called Akiras Veset. In other words, once a Veset has been established 3 times, so there is a certain trend here, in order to uproot it, in order to eliminate it, in order for us not to be any more concerned with it, it has to not come back again 3 times. But that's a real Veset. Here we're presented with a situation that acts like a Veset, but it's not a real Veset. I say acts like a Veset because the Mechaber is going to tell us, well, it's a one-time accident of sorts, maybe, and we have to only be choishish one time. Because had it been a real Veset that has already established itself, of course, then you have to look out for it all the time until you've tried it somehow, you've done it, and it's no longer happening. Whether it's the day, it's no longer that day, whether it's no longer the amount of time that has elapsed that owns it. In other words, when something is no longer a trend, then obviously it's gone. Why should I be concerned that this may happen again? So if something is an established rule, or I guess you can call it, it's another word for it, an established rhythm, pattern, that's the better word for it, then yes, I can see that. Something that is not established? No, except for here. Here we have a situation which is a little bit unusual, where there's no pattern yet, but we suspect there may be. And because of that suspicion, we're going to tell this woman, watch out one time. So before we look at it inside again, what I want to clarify, perhaps we didn't clarify enough last time, is that even though that one particular day we're going to watch out for, it does not mean they can't be together at all. In other words, that's what I need to clarify right now. In other words, let's say we have a concern about the Leil Tvila. You know what? Leil Tvila is a problem. Does that mean they can't be together at all? No. Leil Tvila, she went to the mikveh. What if they're together 3 days from after the Tvila? Is that going to be a problem? That shouldn't be a problem. It's only the Leil Tvila that is causing the problem, perhaps. Or the day afterwards. The further you get away from the Leil Tvila, I can't say that it has to do with the two of them. They're so far apart. And that's what we did not really clarify last time. Right now, I'm mostly concerned with that Leil Tvila. Now, obviously, there's going to be a problem if it repeats itself several times, and exactly on the Leil Tvila, with the Tashmish, she sees dam. So we explained like this. The Mechaber says, and I'm going to read it again, that Aroye dam b'shas Tashmish muteres l'shamesh pam shenis geshetita. No, she's allowed to be intimate with her husband the second time when she becomes clean. Now, in other words, it happened. It happened. She's unclean right now. She has to go to the mikveh. Okay? So, muteret l'shamesh pam shenis geshetita. We do have a concern one time. In other words, we do have at least one time a concern. She saw once or twice on that night of the Tvilah. The next Tvilah comes by, she has to not be with her husband. Nothing happens on that night. Go ahead. And later on, the next Leil Tvila, whenever that comes about, another month from now, it's fine. Now, we're not talking about here another night. Another night is not the question now anymore. The question is, are we seeing here a combination of two things that are causing it? And it could be that it happens to be that the Leil Tvila plus the Tashmish, as someone to explain, maybe she's looking forward to her husband. There's chimud involved. Somebody wanted to suggest, well, if she has any doubts, why doesn't she use a shfoferes? Let her use a tube examination to see after the tefillah if she's going to see any blood on that night. What do you think? It's an interesting idea, no? Try a tube. According to the explanation that there is chimud involved, the tube wouldn't help. The tube, what's a tube? It's not the real thing. According to the explanation that this may be coming about as some sort of chimud that night of the mikveh, plus the tashmish, okay, then it could happen. But if you stick a tube, yes, I mean a tube can help with a makkah maybe, but not with chimud. So the shfoferes is not suggested over here as a possible solution. It is suggested, however, later on when there's more complications. Some say that a shfoferes can be used to eliminate any, but not here. All right, so this is a one-time concern, and then we ask a one-time concern. Why just a one-time concern? What kind of concern is that? I mean, in Kuf Peites, we see all kinds of other vestos. Women having a hiccup, women jumping. There's different kinds of triggers, and we will see that later on. And there we see that sometimes we are concerned more than once. I mean, it's not just a one-time concern. This could be it. We saw it happen once, it could happen again. Why just once? Well, if you say that once is enough, we explained one explanation was that, a woman will never be able to be with her husband on that night. But the other explanation, I believe, is the Shach's explanation, is that you really can't compare it to just any trigger. If anything, it comes close to the trigger of kvitza. When a woman jumps on a particular day, it always happens that she sees her period. So it's a combination. And for that kind of combination of triggers, of jumping, on happening in a particular day, in order for that to establish itself, you need 3 times. So here the Chacham didn't want to be machmir much more, because if anything, it resembles more that than a hiccup or something. In other words, something else, something smaller that we have some concern about that even once might be sufficient. We don't know for sure. So here we didn't want to be machmir that something which is not kavua should always become asr just because of one time. It could be just a freak accident. Okay, so that's important to clarify over here that we're talking about only the Leil Tvila per se, and not necessarily other nights. In other words, somehow she would not be involved Leil Tvila. It's not a problem here.
What if we wait? Then she has.
Well, then obviously we have a real concern. Then we have a problem with Tashmish versus the Lel Tvila,
Worse.
which is worse. Then we're going back to our old problem. It could be that it's just Roy Machmas. Here we're trying to establish that perhaps there's a combination type of vessel that is as a result of two things that are happening. The Lel Tvila and the Tashmish. There are such things that happen. Later on we talk about that. All kinds of combinations. Maybe this is one of them. So for that the Mechaber says one time of Lel Tvila is sufficient to test it out. But how could it be that you're going to test it if there's no Tashmish on that Lel Tvila? We asked last time. So again, we're lenient over here by saying that it's enough that she doesn't see blood that night. Even though the real way to undo a pattern is to have the exact same thing happen again. This time he did it and nothing happened. Oh, well, it's gone. No. Here we're not asking for it. We're obviously a little bit more lenient, and it's enough that she didn't see dam. So that was the Mechaber in Sif Yud. As the Mechaber says, the third Lel Tvila you don't have to be Polish. The whole Midah the Lokova Veset, anything which is not established as a Veset, Lochai Shel Achad Azimna, all you have to do is concerned one time, and that's it. That one time you didn't see anything, next time around, Lel Tvila is okay. So I think that's clear enough, pretty much. Now it becomes a little bit more complicated, because the Ramah on this Mechaber presents various scenarios. One of them is a regular scenario of a woman who's with her husband when she did not give birth. In other words, when she's not pregnant, when she did not give birth. And the second example involves a woman who has given birth. And as you know, a woman who has given birth tends to see, of course, a lot more blood, unless it's a C-section, which makes it a little bit more complex. There's various possibilities that can happen as a result of that birth. All right, so let's maybe see now the Ramah. The Ramah and Sif Yud. Right, I'm not going to review every little detail we covered last time, but pretty much just in general. We need to see the Ramah a little bit more inside. So the Ramah says like this: Imra also gimel ta'omim bechol pam bebiya rishoina she'achar tvilosa asuro lebalo ki lo also gimel pamim retzufi. Now we know the din that if she's 3 times rosa machmas tashmish, that she's asuro lebalo, she can no longer be with her husband. So here the Ramah gives various scenarios. Scenario number 1, that she saw 3 times, bebiya rishoina she'achar tvilosa. So after the tvila, after the mikveh, she saw this happening 3 times. So asura lebalo kilo rosa gimel pamim retzum. So she's asura to her husband as though she saw it 3 consecutive times. Now consecutive is a very important key over here, because consecutive means that obviously this has been happening. This is going to happen. This is a veset of sorts. This is a trend. Whereas if something is not consecutive, let's say in between, there's tashmish and there's no dam, that's fine. We're talking about 3 consecutive times. That's the halacha that we already learned. So what exactly is the Ramah saying over here? Now we do know that the Ramah is adding, of course, a word or two here. He's saying, Im rosa gimel pomim bechol pam bebiya rishona she'achar tvilasa. I mean, it's obviously a different kind of a scenario here. Nonetheless, even though we have some time in between, it's still asura. So what's the chidush, the poshup shat chidush, without going into the shachin taz yet? Obviously we need the shachin taz, because how could maybe we wouldn't be able to figure it out, just like others couldn't so easily, without learning the shachin taz. But let's assume we already know what the shachin taz is saying. So, poshup shat, she came back from the mikveh on 3 occasions, all 3 times she saw. Okay, now what? Asura lebalo. So the Ramah is telling us a similar din that we already know. 3 times and you're out. So what's the chidush? We know that. Well, the chidush is don't think, according to the way the Shach would learn it, don't think that perhaps because this is harkovo, it's a combination of tvila and, right? Tvila and tashmish. That as a result of that, he is seeing it But if there is no tvila, it would be mutter. In other words, if it wouldn't be leil tvila, it would be mutter somehow. Comes along the Ramah and says, no. This is very much the same as seeing 3 times Ratzufim. In other words, I'm not going to blame the tvila for it. I'm just going to ignore it. In other words, even though it happens to be that this is a combination of the two, it's pretty much the same din.
So 3 times during a certain date? A certain...
3 times on the Leila Tvila.
He's putting away the Leila as a factor.
Right, even though that I would think that they may be a factor and she would be possibly mutter on another date, just not the Leila Tvila.
So he's using Leila to
in other words, even though here it's a combination of 2 things, I would say, okay, maybe Leila Tvila is going to be usher. No. Comes along the Ramah. This is the way Shach is learning. Comes along the Ramah saying, no. 3 times Leila Tvila is like 3 times consecutive, not Leila Tvila.
Consecutive 3 on the same day of the month.
No, 3 times Tashmish. Rosa Machmas Tashmish.
So 3 times.
Yeah, like we've learned all along, yeah. But wait a minute. How could this be? How could they have been together on the second? I mean, she's not supposed to be. How do you have 3 times the Tzufim if she's not allowed to be the second time? So that's one of the questions that is raised over here. That
could even be a month apart.
Yeah, of course. That's what he appears to be saying that.
If she saw after the first time she was afterwards, right?
The what? I'm sorry?
She saw after the first all,
right?
And because of the seeing.
Right.
So that wouldn't be a month.
Oh, so that's what some want to say, that perhaps that's the chidush. What's the chidush? In other words, what's really the chidush other than Pashup Shach? That even if there would be bias, tashmish, of a mutter form, that was permissible form, it would still be usher. She would still be usher to remain with him because of the fact that she saw 3 times. What's a form of bia that's mutter? Let's say she went to the mikveh because of the dam machmas tashmish.
Well, she would have to.
She would have to, of course.
Now, and if she did, and she did see dam then.
Exactly.
Then would it be...
Then what we're saying is, you know what? Maybe the only time she sees dam machmas tashmish is after the tvila of a veset.
She didn't see blood after that feeling because of the blood.
Right.
Then we would still say 3, but this time...
That's what some of the Chachamim would want to explain here in the Ramah. That perhaps what the Ramah is saying, the Chidush is, right, even if there would be bias of heter.
Which would be what?
What would be a bias of heter? She went to the mikveh after the dam that she saw. Machmas tashmish.
And now what happened?
She didn't see.
Now she didn't.
She did not see.
So really she was in the mikveh and she didn't see. That notwithstanding, because she saw the next time after her vest.
Right.
Or whatever after her Niddah
right.
time.
Right.
So therefore this would be mitzarek with the first time, even though in between there was because that was the time
right.
she went.
Because maybe there's a difference. In other words, how could there ever be that they are together?
He would leave that. He would put that aside. He wouldn't take into consideration.
Exactly. Maybe not.
So that would be the.
The Shach seems to say that, from the way we understand the Shach, is that if that would be the case, she wouldn't be surah.
So the Rama is saying she would.
In other words, if that would really be the case, if that would really be the scenario.
The scenario was she did
where she was with her husband and there was no blood in between, how could you call that roy machmas tashmish if it's not really consecutive? Right now we want to know how could they possibly be?
You lost me.
Right. So I'm going. How could they possibly be if after the first time she's usher to be with her husband the second time around? Remember?
Let's give it dates. She saw it the first time, make easy, on the 1st of January.
Right.
Now when is she asked to be with us? Now that she went, she told
Leil Tvila, right.
She was with her husband.
The next period when she goes to the mikveh.
When would that be? Give me a date.
The next month, a month later.
No. Why would she be able to go to the mikveh? Assume everything is perfect. Well,
then she does. Then she does. I'm sorry. She does go to the mikveh. She goes to the mikveh to get clean from her dam machmas tashmish.
Right.
12 days later.
So the 12th of January.
Yes.
Let's work with
12 days. Okay, good.
And the 12th of January should still be, right?
Right. Exactly.
From the 12th to 13th to the together. And
Right.
there's no doubt.
That's exactly it.
The Shach
That's a bias heter.
The Shach would
No
say-
problem.
Right, so the Shach would...
No, so but you didn't
Well,
finish.
Moshe says it
You
is.
didn't finish. No, we forgot about what.
And then
So
the
you
next-
go ahead and finish.
Yeah, we didn't finish yet.
So finish.
The next Leil Tvila,
The 1st of February.
right, and that's the Tvila of her Veset.
Right.
Right.
And then she sees Dam
So the
again.
Ramah would say that's too clear.
Right,
And the Shach would say no in the middle makes it not consistent.
exactly. Depends how you learn the Ramah.
Right.
Right. Depends how you learn the Ramah. Because Ramah is not clear. That's what makes it a little difficult. What is the chiddush of why is he saying this? And when we know, 3.
On the 1st of January, she went to Bitoivel because Niddah, and that was the period of Then
Right.
she was with her husband in the night, and she sees Dam again.
Yeah.
Okay? So now what are the different sheets?
Okay, so let's see first the Taz. What is the chiddush? What is the Ramah telling us about? 3 times Leil Tvila is like 3 times Ritzulfin. Okay, so what's the din here? So the Taz says he appears to be saying that even though in between, in other words, the time she came back from the mikvah, right?
Between the 1st of
Reg-
January and the 1st of February, she
Yeah.
didn't see blood.
Yeah, even if it was be'isr, there's a shita that holds even though she was be'isr, regardless. In other words, regardless of how she was with her husband
You already
in
lost
between.
me. The 1st of
Right.
January, she saw blood.
Yeah,
Went to the Taz.
right.
Okay. Now we're saying January and the 1st of February she was with her husband.
Yeah,
And
let's
she didn't see blood.
right.
She did see blood.
Forget how she was.
I'm not asking.
She
how
did not.
She did not.
She
see
did
blood.
not
so
see
between
blood.
the 1st of January and February, she did not see blood. And now on the
Right.
1st of February, she sees blood again after going.
Yes,
So according to the Taz, this is a Ritzufism in between.
that's the way he learns Pshat in the Ramah. Okay, that's
So
the way.
according to the Taz,
Right,
after the second half, after the third.
right. After the 3rd time
That
of
this
seeing
happened.
Leil Hatvila,
Right.
right?
Right. No matter whether or not she was with her husband, whether it was permitted or forbidden, in
Yeah.
between, doesn't matter. In
Right.
any event, if she's 3 times late tefillah, regardless what happened in between, according
Right.
to the Taz, the Ramah is saying that she forbidden.
Right.
Or the Taz is saying that she would.
The
It's not
Taz is
saying
the
that the
Taz
Ramah
is
is
saying
saying-
that the Ramah says that she
Ah.
will be forbidden.
So that's
Now,
how the Taz understands
now
the
the
Ramah.
Taz does not say how this could happen. Okay, that's the problem over here. In other words, the Taz does not say what we explained before. What's a scenario of a permissible way where she would?
Well, he says it's irrelevant if it's permissible. So why should he
No.
give you a permissible example?
No. The thing is like this. I'll tell you why. Because what's Leil Tvila mean?
I thought we just defined it. First of
Right, that's the way we're defining it. But maybe, I'm saying maybe right now, Leil Tvila means every time she goes to the mikveh.
In the Taz of standing of the.
Yeah.
So it's
The
not
Taz,
the Taz
all the Taz adds, okay, let's make it clear. All the Taz adds in understanding the Ramah is that the Chiddush here is that even though there were bias of heter in between, right? So the Maire Afar Pi Shebintayim Hoyu Bios somehow Shel Heter, right? Here it would not help.
Now, whether or not BSR is a problem depends on how you define between what and what.
Between the first 2
Why
vestos.
should it be a problem to imagine BSR? Why shouldn't there be BSR?
In other words, I would think once you have bias of heter, it would undo the 3 times of Leil HaTvila.
That's a side problem. That's a different problem.
Right.
Now, why shouldn't there be BSR? She had her vest, she toibled, she saw blood, she toibled again, which we don't factor in
Right. Now we don't see her.
Now she could have BSR.
Yes, you should supposedly. Yeah, supposedly. Right. Yeah, supposedly. I mean,
BSR.
right.
Yeah.
It depends how. It depends how you learn it.
Well, but we're following one sheet already.
Well, right now we're following the one
So
sheet
just
that
take the one sheet.
we're assuming she can have a B of heter. She went to the mikveh to retire from her dam machmastashvish, right?
Did that.
She did that.
And now from here onwards, still the BSR header.
That's correct. So the Taz says, the Ramah says, this is not good enough.
It's not good enough.
Not good enough.
This
This is not good enough to interrupt or to undo or to say that she's not seeing dam machmastashvish on Leil Tvila.
So the fact that she was in with her husband all month January,
Does not
and
help.
now on the 1st of February she sees blood again. We're mitzar if the 1st of January we saw blood
To the
after
second.
Tefillah, and the end of February. which
That's
is the
correct.
end of
That's
Tefillah,
correct.
Regardless of what happened in between.
That's correct.
That's
what
the
the
Taz
that's the
understanding in the Ramah.
that's what the Ramah wants to be mechadash to, even though she was.
And that's still the understanding
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
Ramah.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
But she really wouldn't become forbidden to her husband because in 3 times until the third time that she saw it when she was toilet.
Right.
So on the 1st of March. Then from there onwards would add up the 3 times. And therefore she would be with her husband beginning with the 2nd of March at all anymore.
But anyway, so let's look at the shach maybe inside. Okay? According to the Taz, it's simple.
Okay, good.
All right,
So
good.
let's establish that, and now
Yeah.
we'll look at the different sheet,
Yeah.
and they will become complicated.
But why is it not simple? And that's used in the shach because when we say the word Leil Tvila, do we know if there's a difference between which Leil Tvila it is? We don't know. It's a chiddush to learn in the Taz. Not only the Taz learning in the Ramah. It's a chiddush to learn in the Taz. You know what the Taz is talking about? How could you have heter? Because she went to the mikveh for the dam of her tashmish, not because of the dam of the vesed. That's how she was able to be clean and be with her husband in a heter. Otherwise, how could she ever be clean to her husband if she's seen dam machmas tashmish on leil hatvila? One pshat is, yes, but the leil hatvila from the dam machmas tashmish is not the same leil hatvila as the leil hatvila of the vesed. That was a Taz, right?
The Taz never says that.
No, of course not.
So in other words, in trying to understand the Taz,
Right.
you have to assume that he's putting the Leil Tefillah aside.
Yes.
That going to the mikveh because of the dam of Leil Tefillah, he's putting that aside to understand what the Taz means. Because if you assume that she would have to go again with the Leil Tefillah because of the dam she saw then, that's one of the 3 times. Then you'd have the problem of how did she have between the first time she went and the second time she went the beheter.
Right.
Did I understand correctly?
Yeah.
In the Taz, you would get that problem.
Yes. Right, because the Taz wants to say that's the chiddush. But okay, fine.
Well, what's that?
The chiddush, that if they were together in between it, they don't count those days that they were.
And this chiddush only works if it's going to be beheter that they were in between. If you suppose that he's only looking at the days of the
Unless you say they were be'isser together. That's the other possibility.
And that would make sense in the Taz that what he's were together.
No, because he doesn't say those words. But that's the other possibility of how you can have. He doesn't say those words, but that's another way of understanding.
Could he have meant it?
Why would we
I'd rather say that he didn't, because I don't see it in his words that he
Why
said
would
that.
we use-
Yeah, but otherwise, you understand why the Taz, even the Taz is unclear. How is that possible? Let's just say it that it is possible, that somehow. Somehow, I think there's a possibility that is brought down, which is not exactly an Isser. I think 2 times that night, the one night. She didn't check it. She didn't check herself.
It's okay.
Yeah. Something like that. In other words, until late in the morning,
Then we wouldn't know because she didn't.
Exactly. It's not one of those kinds of situations. That's what I recall seeing.
trying to-
Yeah, no, that's what I recall seeing. It's not really mamish based. There's all kinds of scenarios. But anyway, the Taz mainly wants to say the Ramah is being mechadish something, and that's what he's being mechadish, that anything in between will not help. The Shach says ki'ilu ra'asa 3 times. Kloima ki'ilu avro v'ra'asa gimel pamim retzufim beloi tvila, even without tvila. The vadai belav achi efshar. Otherwise, without that, efshar limtzo shalosh pamim retzufim shalei tzricha litbol bechol pam. So what is the Shach saying here? In other words, seeing 3 times belel tvila retzufim. It's like gimel pa'amim beloi tvila. It says the vadai belav hochi efshar limtzo shalosh pa'amim retzufim. How are you going to find 3 times retzufim? Shalei tzricha litbol bechol pam. The Shach says that leil tvila is leil tvila. In other words, all we know is that they can't be together until the next leil tvila. Okay. So he doesn't make a difference. What that means, he doesn't make a distinction. No. He does not make a distinction between leil tvila because of the veset or leil tvila because she has been unclean. She's going back to the mikveh. That's going to be leil tvila too. He doesn't say those words exactly, but that's the way.
Does he say that?
In other words, you have no other possibility, he says. How would they ever be together?
Yes.
Right? Because what did the Ramah say? Bechol pam bebiyo rishono she'achar tvila, so asuro lebalo.
That's an argument.
Right?
What does he actually say?
Keloimar. This is shach. Ki'ilu ra'asa, as though she saw 3 consecutive times. Keloimar ki'ilu avra v'ra'asa. Gimel pamim retzufim. 3 consecutive times. Beloi tvila. The vadai belav hochi. I efshar limtzoi shalosh pe'omim retzufim. Sharei tzricha litbol bechol pam.
He's trying to avert a false understanding. It's impossible. A different understanding is impossible.
No.
Why does he say avra? What's avra? If it was below tefillah, she would be. So he says it's as though she was over on the is, and she saw 3 times without it tefillah. She would have to be toivel. It's as though she didn't go in toivel. And in doing so, she would be in violation of an isser. So ki'ilu avada, kelama ki'ilu, as though. No, she's not doing that.
Yeah.
But we are looking at it as though she had been with her husband 3 times in a row without being toivel in between. In that case, she would be in violation. Ki'ilu avada, ki'ilu, it's just ki'ilu. As though she violated the prohibition of being with her husband once she saw blood, and she was with him 3 times in a row without being toivel. As though. But why is it as though? Because Lemaise, she was toivel. לא תפילה. בוודאי, בלאו הכי, אי אפשר למצוא 3 פעמים רצופים שעלי צריכה לטבול בכל פעם ופעם. In other words, because we won't find that she was with her husband 3 days in a row, one after the other, because she has to go to the mikvah between each time and each time.
Right.
So since she has to go to the mikvah between each time and each time, therefore we're omitting the fact that she goes to the tefillah between each time and each time in evaluating the situation.
That's correct.
And instead we're looking at it as though she violated the being with her husband, and she's with him 3 days in a row.
And that's what I said before. That
I
be'isr.
never got it though.
Be'isr. In other words, that's the possibility of learning pshat here, that she was be'isr. But it makes,
not saying that
does
she
it
was
make
really
but does it
be'isr.
make a difference?
Yeah, he's not saying that she was be'isr.
No, he's not.
He's saying that since she can't have been with her husband without tefillah, therefore we're not going to factor in that she was toivel. That just takes care of not being be'isr. But we're putting that away as though she was be'isr. It's not our business now. It's not our concern.
Okay.
And instead we're looking at it as though one day after another she was with her husband, 3 days redufim, and each time she saw,
correct, yes.
even though the Maisa, she wasn't 3 times in a row with her, she had to go to the toivel in between.
Right.
We're not going to take that into account because otherwise she couldn't have been.
That's
so
correct.
It's not something that we factor in.
That's true, exactly.
So he's not saying that there was really an isser. He's just saying ki'ilu avra. But the fact that we're omitting the fact that she was toivel, now we're turning it into a situation as though it was be'isr.
Okay, you could say that.
Of course, she wasn't be'isr. It's ki'ilu be'isr.
Well, of course she wasn't. Here she wasn't be'isr.
No, it's ki'ilu be'isr.
Yes.
But why are we looking at it as though she was be'isr, which is not our concern? Why are we looking at it? Because she couldn't be with her husband without, so we're putting aside the fact that she was toivel.
That's correct, yes.
We're not factoring it in because it's a condition for her to have been without being toivel. She couldn't have. So therefore, this being toivel does not interrupt the ritzufim.
Yes.
It still ends up being. He's trying to argue the ritzufim. He wants to establish the ritzufim.
Yeah.
Why is it ritzufim? She was with her husband, then she toiveled, then she was with her husband again. Why is it ritzufim? Because the tefillah we're not taking into account because she had to be toivel to be with her husband.
He's all he's saying is that the Ramos ritzufim, even though they're not ritzufim.
Right, because she was toivel. That's what makes it not ritzufim.
Not only she was toivel, but they're very, very far apart.
Right.
Okay? Still, it's like she went ahead and sought the ritzufim without tefillah.
In other words, let's look at the regular ritzufim.
Right.
Forget about the regular tefillah.
Right.
Regular. If she was with her husband 3 times, after her vest.
Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Yeah.
And each she saw blood.
Right.
3 times ritzufim.
That's correct. Yeah, sure.
So here the concern is, or the possibility is, the tefillah concludes, and therefore the next species blood, it's not to be added to the, because they're going to the mikveh, concluded that episode of seeing, it's an interruption, it's too.
Well, that was the
so
real.
That he says, no, we don't.
But you understand, that was the question of the Shach and Taz, really, when you see the Ramah, what is the Ramah telling us that we don't know? 3 times is 3 times, whether it's a month apart or 4 days apart. What is he telling us that we don't know? So the Shach says, well, don't think that because of the Tevilah, I would say, well, it's only Leil Tevilah, she's going to be Asr. Not the rest. She can be with her husband if it's not a Leil Tevilah. No. According to the Shach.
Since she has to toivel, therefore we get aside for what it reminds us, just 3 blood.
Exactly. In other words, there will be a Havamina. You know what? I have an idea. She's seeing Dam, not Machmastash. Machmastash Mishin.
And there is such a thing.
Of course, it could be.
I mean,
the Chaber was choishish for that. Yeah.
The question is, does this case
comes along the Ramah according to their Shach and says, you know what? No. Even if though she saw it as a result of the 2, she's still Asur in the same way as though she would have had 3 times without Tevilah. Don't factor in the Tevilah inside this. That's what the Shach learns. In other words, that's the Chiddush. It's not it is a Chiddush, but it's not a Chiddush. You know, Ramah seems to be saying, it's Pasha 3 times, but the Shach says, no. maybe I would think, and some do want to suggest that, only Leil Tevilah should be Asr. You know what? I have an idea. After 3 times Leil Tevilah, she wait 3 days. And the Ramah comes along, the way the Shach says, no. And the Taz would agree to that too. After 3 times, if there's no in between, she's Asr on any day. You can't wait 3 days after the Tefillah says, well, it's not Leil Tevilah.
Now you introduced it in tradition.
The what?
That they weren't intimate without seeing.
No, I had to say that because the Taz learns Pshat. Remember, the Taz is learning Pshat, and the Ramah is, well, the Ramah is saying a Chiddush that even though they were together, beheter, in between, how? I gave you a scenario how that could be. She came back clean after the mikveh from the dam, or the machmas tashmish. They were together, nothing happened, and the next time she sees dam machmas tashmish is after the tevilah from the vesed.
And that was back to the Taz.
That was back to the Taz. Okay. But anyway, Shach is saying, he's not saying any of that. The Shach is saying, all the Ramah is saying is 3 consecutive times, there's nothing in between. He's not talking about anything in between. Even though they're after tevilah, don't think that tevilah makes a difference here, and therefore any other night she'll be mutter. It's only the Leil Tevilah she's Asr. No, we don't say that. By the way, if she sees 3 times just on that same Leil Tevilah, but not on any other level, she's only Asr on the Leil Tevilah, not necessarily on another night.
We're talking about the Leil Tevilah is the best.
No, right now forget it. Just
Any
Leil Tevilah.
So she sees 3 times Asr the husband.
In other words, if she doesn't see any other night,
Right.
just on the Leil Tevilah she saw 3 times. In other words, I saw it somewhere, that if she saw 3 times on the Leil Tevilah, it doesn't mean that she's Asr to her husband, because she saw 3 times.
I thought that
She would be Asr on that Leil Tevilah only. But she waits 2 days after the Tevilah, she can be with her husband.
I thought that's what the Ramah.
Yeah, but he's not saying that. Right now he's talking about 3 different nights of Tevilah, not the same one night. And that's the Chiddush.
How does she say on the same times?
Same night, 3 times. Every time there was Damak Mastashmish. On the
And
same
it was
night.
one night,
Yeah,
the 1st of January.
right,
She was toivel to
right.
She's with her husband. Sees blood. She's
3
with her husband
times.
again.
3 times.
Her
3
husband,
times that first night.
and she sees blood after each time.
That's what I believe.
Now she's with her husband the second time
Oh.
when she saw blood.
You know what they say in Yiddish? Akasha v'maisa. You know how it is. Anyway, she didn't check. Whatever.
But for
whatever.
that, the Ramah is actually writing.
No, the Ramah this has nothing to do with the Ramah. This is a separate halacha.
So this is not this.
This is nothing to do with this. That halacha says that she would be Asr on that night, but she would not necessarily be Asr on another night.
We're unnecessarily confused here because we're seeing something else and nothing to do with it.
Yeah, but no. Just telling you what I remember seeing, that if it were to be on the same night, that the most you can say is that night is Asr, as opposed to another night. Because why did I tell you this? Because according to the Ramah, the way they both would understand, the Shach and Taz, is that if she sees, let's say they weren't together. Let's say they were not together.
Where? They must have been together sometime.
Besides the Leila Tevilah, they were never together. Forget about the Taz, that they were in between.
So they saw blood. Leila Tevilah, they
Leila
saw blood.
Tevilah, yeah, let's say they were not together. Okay? Just for that once a month time. January, Leila Tevilah, February, Leila Tevilah, March, Leila Tevilah.
Never intimate.
Exactly.
He works out.
Shach and Taz agree, she's a surah.
Because there was no time in between intimate without semen.
Yeah, whatever. There's no
3 times that they were
The Ramah
together,
tells us-
they saw blood.
right. Ramah says that's like 3 times, even though they're a month apart.
But there was nothing in between separating them intimate.
Right. They weren't together, okay? That's clear, right? That's clear?
Yeah,
And that everybody's in agreement with that, by the way.
Can't argue.
No, everybody's in agreement with that.
But one thing that the Ramah himself is giving why. Shehare. So it doesn't only say it's as though it's 3 times. The Ramah himself is giving a nation why he's posting. Shehare yefshala lidbol ulhiro akol pam achar sutta.
Right. Okay.
So the Ramah is giving you a reason. He's saying because she can't be with her husband and then
Right. It can never be possible
to what?
for her to be with her husband, because every time she's going to become clean, as a result of going to the mikveh, she's going to see again. See, anytime she's going to get herself clean, she's going to see. So she can't basically become clean to her husband. This is just another problem. Every time that she goes to the mikveh, which is the right thing to do, she's going to see dam again. So it's not possible for her to become clean. So let's just maybe just finish the Ramah here. The second part of the Ramah was about giving birth. So we explained that if she saw 3 times the first bia after she gave birth, or also achar kol leida gimel pamim, or she saw after each birth 3 times, it was worse. Not only did either one possibility was that she saw achar kol leida, that means she had 3 births, and it happened 3 times. Or she saw achar kol leida gimel pamim, or after every leida, somehow she saw 3 times. B'intayim lo also, but in the meantime she did not see. Some say that she's permitted to her husband, because we say that possibly she was weak because of the birth. Because the sides, the whole area there is weaker because of the birth. Therefore she will see close to her birth but not later. And we attribute it to the birth just like we attribute it to a makkah. But this is of course only if she was already intimate with her husband between the leidas. Because there was bias shel heter after bias shel isur. But if she did not yet, let's say she did come to ask a rabbi, and she did see 3 times retzufim achar leida, lo talino b'leida, we're not going to just automatically say it's because of her birth. If anything, she would need a bdika with a tube. If she needs the bdika, and she nevertheless had relations, and she did not check herself, muteres, the tashmish zeh shelo ra'asa bo'odif im bdika sashver, because this tashmish is much better than the checking examination with a tube. So here the Ramah is telling us a few additional dinim by a woman giving birth, that if she saw after 3 births, halacha number 1, in her first bia, we're going to be lenient with her. We're going to say, you know what, it's after her birth. Okay? Same thing if she saw 3 times after every single birth. Later on, if she had a bia without dam, she's fine. Obviously, she had the tradition, nothing happened. But Ramah takes it back one step, and he says, well, wait a minute. If she did see 3 times in a row after the first bia, she's really not supposed to be. Right? Don't attribute it to the Leida automatically 3 times after 1 Leida. So what did I tell you before? What I told you before, and this is how some learn Pshat in the Ruah, is only after the fact. She didn't ask, or sometimes she became pregnant again, whatever, and she just went on to have it recur over again the 2nd time and 3rd time, and in between there were bias, even though she should have asked. Then what we say is we're lenient. We're not going to say, you know what, she had it 3 times. No, 3 times in a row, whether it's 1 after every birth, or whether it's 3 after the first birth and on, we're going to be lenient with her. But obviously, if she sees 3 times in a row after Leida, don't assume that that's because of Leida. 3 times after a Leida means that she better check herself. We don't automatically say that it has to do with the birth. It could be that it's Damach Mastashmish. So she would have to ask, she would have to look into it. But Bedi Evet, if she did not, and it happened like that, then we say, you know what, we're going to be lenient, we're not going to divorce them. We're going to say, that she should check it out with a shferferes. Let's say she did. That's the 4th halacha. She should have checked it out with a shferferes, she didn't, but instead there was Tashmish, and nothing happened. Well, the Tashmish is a better check than a shferferes. So again, after Leida, it's a lot easier. We're a little bit more lenient. Okay, I guess we'll stop here.